I got started coding back in 2002, right out of college. I was really excited, wanting to get into the business world and get into some projects. And that's really one of the best ways to learn is just to start doing, right? Because there's nothing like sinking your teeth into a live project that actually has teeth to it that's going to have impact with a real customer. And so I started doing that. And even though now I have built a business with my coding into a six-figure income, I made a lot of mistakes along the way, especially in the early years. And I wanted to just take some time and share that with you and hopefully share some tips to help you avoid some of the same mistakes I made. Let's discuss. Welcome to episode 3 of the Apex Coding Academy. I'm Adam Parker, and I'm here to help you learn to code, work less, and live life to the fullest. Let's get into our topic. Today we're going to be talking about big mistakes, that I made in my early years. I'm going to share some of those with you in hopes that you can learn from some of those. One of my first companies that I worked for right out of college and getting to, learning how to code, learning how to get involved with a business and with a client and getting into a project was an online basketball company. And it was kind of a complex project that I went into. It was a website that I was making, and so there was a front end to it, but there's also a database back end to it where they wanted to have an online article system. This was before WordPress, or maybe in the early stages of WordPress where I didn't know that existed, and so I coded it from scratch. And so it was kind of a difficult task. I had to create a login management system. I had to create an article management system, and it was a very good project because it helped me to get my feet wet, helped me to sink my teeth into some things. And but it was also, I made a lot of newbie mistakes along the way. I want to give you a free resource. It's a free checklist that will give you 4 steps to landing that killer coding job. Now, this is information that I've compiled over the years that has helped me to land multiple 6-figure coding jobs. And everything from initial preparation, things that you'll need to know, things you'll want to put on your resume, how to build that resume, how to prepare for that job interview, all of the things from beginning to end and everything in between. It's 3 to 4 page resource that I want to give to you. Hopefully it will help you in your coding journey. Please go ahead and download. The link is in the description, and download that today. So like I was saying, my first coding job was a online basketball website. And so I made some big mistakes. One of the first mistakes I made was, it was a big task and I completely underbid it. I didn't make a plan. And so one of the first mistakes that you need to make sure you don't do is don't code without a plan. You have to have a plan. You need to map it out. You need to map out everything. You need to walk through your process. You need to understand your client's pain points. You need to ask questions. You need to, in the requirements phase, get all of that out. Find out what those pain points are from your customer so that you can develop that plan and walk out what your code is going to do. Before you ever start planning to write your code, you need to figure out those pain points. Find out what is the ultimate goal the customer's wanting, and then put that on paper. And as you're stepping through the process with the customer, you need to be doing that with the customer. What is the process from here to here? What is the process from here to here? And as you're doing that, mapping that out, and then you break it up into big chunks at first. There's, maybe you have 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 big chunks. And then from there, you'll take, okay, to accomplish this chunk of a process, let's break that up into multiple steps, right? And you break that process up into multiple steps. And then you break each one of those up into multiple steps until you can't get any further. And so you go all the way until you can break it down into simple, basic steps. This becomes your plan along the way as you start to develop your code, to write your code, your methods, everything that you're going to do to be able to make it work. This will make it so much easier. And if you don't do it, it will make it so much harder. I definitely didn't do that. And so I was just started coding. It's like, okay, we're going to start with this. And then all of a sudden, I'm 2 weeks in and, without an end in sight, it feels like. And so that's something that I did on the front end that was made it really difficult. One of the tools that's very helpful to use for this is something called Lucid Charts. I use that in my business today. But really flow charting, any kind of flow charting software or even just paper, or on a whiteboard, flow charting out your methods. And that may be something that's very helpful to do in a requirement gathering session with a customer, or a planning session or workshopping session with a customer, and really to write some processes, some decision boxes. We're going to make a decision here when the user, what is the path that user is going to take, right? And when the user comes into your website or to your particular screen, where do you want them to go? What decisions are they going to have to make along the way? And those decision points and those processes on the back end, whenever the answer to those decisions is yes or no, or if they're making a choice, and then that choice then kicks off another process, you need to be able to map those out and then put those in those types of flows, and that will really help. And so those types of softwares really help to be able to do that, especially remotely. If you're working remotely with a client, sharing your screen, being able to have those types of flow charts so they can see visually what your code is going to do, what it's going to look like, so they can get the end product that is actually what they're asking for and what they're looking for. It's sometimes the coders will code and they will think that, I know how to code and I know how to do, I know what it's supposed to look like, or I know what it's supposed to function like, right? But we as coders, we're here to help our clients, our customers. They're the ones paying, and they're the one that knows their business. Every business that you code for, every business that you are developing a project for is going to be different. They're going to have specific nuances to their business, and you want to position yourself to find out and to ask lots of questions, find out what that customer is going to need so that you can build what they want. Now, they may not know what they want initially, but that's your job, is to find that out, to pull that out of them, right? And then having that plan in place so that you can then show the customer back and forth and be that person that helps them to get where they want to go. That's super helpful. I mean, it's going to make you a more successful coder and programmer. It's going to make you a more successful business person in interaction with your customer and your client. Now, mistakes number 1 and 2 were more business oriented, more client customer coding oriented. But this mistake number 3 really has to deal with the code itself. And it has to deal with repeating the same code. So when you're writing code, you're going to be writing functions or tasks or things that are going to execute, right? There's going to be writing lines of code that are going to accomplish a certain thing or provide some type of automation or display something for the user. Now, a lot of times in code, you're going to see as you start writing code that you can do certain tasks more than once, and you can reuse that same code again. And so the common thing that coders will do, they'll say, oh, I can reuse this. I just did this, and so I can reuse it again. So they'll copy it and paste it down here, copy it and paste it. And so they'll have that same code, and they'll repeat it over and over and over and over again. And when they do that, that actually makes their code very, very messy and hard to maintain, hard to maintain for yourself or any other developers that come in after you. It also makes your performance on when you're loading a web page, it makes your load times longer, it makes your code messier, it allows for lots of mistakes whenever you have to update your code. You have to, if you copied it 50 times to repeat that code that you did, then you'll have to, if you have to change that, you're gonna have to change it 50 times. And obviously there's search and replace and those kinds of things, but if you only have to change something once, it's better. And you're gonna find that reusing code is a very, very good best practice of coders. You want to try to find ways where you can, instead of repeating the same code 50 times, you write a method or some type of framework to write the code once, and then you call that method to do that, that block of code, and you call it several times. And so then the call to the actual method is the only thing that has to be repeated. Maybe the block of code that's maybe 5 lines or 10 lines doesn't have to be repeated 50 times. And so if you need to make a change to that, you can just make it once in the block of code, and then it's changed everywhere, right? And so that's very helpful. It also makes your code lean and clean and quick, easy to update, and future developers that come after you will love you for it. So that is 3 big mistakes that I made when I was first started coding. So hopefully that helps you. Just want to point you to the free resource again. Link is in the description. Get my free checklist. It will help you out. I know the ins and outs of applying for jobs, of what businesses are looking for in coding jobs. And I've compiled it all in this list to help you get to where you need to be. Have a great day.